Hey, can I show you something?
These are White House passes.
Your dad here has a job interview with the Secret Service.
No way. This is really cool.
Mr. President, 5 minutes, sir.
Evening, ma'am.
Merry Christmas, Mike.
Mustang, this is Big Top, bringing out the full package.
John Cale. Why do you want to be in the Secret Service?
I can't think of a more important job than protecting the president.
In college, you barely maintained a C average.
Everybody knows you did the right thing on that bridge. Even the president knows. You gotta learn how to get back into the real world.
Mr. President, we're ready for you.
I'm in the White House. They've taken the building and they're holding hostages, including my daughter.
Alpha 1, do you have the target? Roger that. We're holding the president in the library.
That's the library. Don't go in there. Just... Oh, this is so stupid.
Olympus has fallen. Olympus has fallen. Mr. Speaker, you are the acting president.
I want to speak for the Russians, the Chinese, the British, and the French. In that order.
All right, we're back. This is the script. Beat sheet edition.
BSE.
BSE. It's the first fight night. We're doing White House Down versus Olympus Has Fallen.
I love Hollywood's propensity to bring out the exact same movie at the exact same summer, you know.
But you know what? It's a great opportunity for us to talk from a story perspective about two movies, exact same concept, one executed one way, better than the other, and the other executed worse than the other, from two major studios. One's got a good story, one's got a really crap story, and it's a really great opportunity to show us beat for beat where the mistakes were made and where the strengths, the writing strengths are. So
yeah, absolutely.
Any official business? I got a haircut. This is aerodynamic script doctor.
And your beard's much less scruffy.
A little less, yeah. Younger. You have a new mic that you're very proud of.
I do have a new mic. I am. It's a new toy. We're hopefully if this works out, then future podcasts from the NYC.
You're trying to do the golden voice thing. You're trying to. It's not fair. I'm using my iPhone mic.
I got a voice that's built for porn, man. It's horrible.
That's fantastic. Well, why don't we jump in? Is there? Let me just do the introduction of the two films and the filmmakers. White House Down was written by Jamie Vanderbilt, who's a big Hollywood screenwriter. I love his scripts. He does great writing. He wrote Basic, The Rundown, Zodiac, The New Amazing Spider-Mans.
Which was really good, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well-written stuff. He's doing the upcoming Robocop reboot.
Which I'm skeptical about. But
So am I.
Hard to mess with a classic.
And, Jamie Vanderbilt also did a great adaptation of Against All Enemies, which is a first-hand account of the 9/11 itself by counterterrorism chief Richard Clarke, which is a script that's yet to be produced, but it's an amazing piece of writing.
Yeah, I've been wanting to read that book, actually.
It's phenomenal. The first chapter of that book is the best action movie I've ever seen, and it's what really happened on 9/11. Awesome. Director of White House Down, Roland Emmerich of Independence Day fame, The Day After Tomorrow, 2000 BC, 2012, all these disaster epics, scales down to a White House disaster.
You know what? He's played with scale. He did Anonymous, right?
Okay.
I mean, I guess his first real big, kind of blockbustery action movie his breakout was probably Stargate.
Stargate, which is an excellent picture. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and
but he was writing with his writing partner back then, though. I forget his name. Who kept his feet on the ground after they broke up. Roland Emmerich's writing chops not as strong, but he's got Jamie Vanderbilt supposedly helping him out on this script. The other filmmakers, the other filmmakers, screenwriters credited on Olympus Has Fallen are Creighton, Rothenberger, and Katrin, Benedikt, who have no other film credits. So, that's what we have there.
So we've got a pedigree versus a mutt. right?
There you go. Sure. Some newcomers, Yeah. Directed by Antoine Fuqua, of course, of Training Day. He did Shooter, King Arthur, and The Replacement Killers, a favorite of mine.
That's a pretty hardcore resume.
Very good resume. So, White House Down, opening image. What do we have?
Oh, well, we've got this little girl looking out the window and watching the president fly by in Marine One with his convoy. And that image continues to where he's flying over the Lincoln Memorial. Doing this kind of buzz.
I'm going to agree with you. The opening image of a safe sleeping child is the opening image.
Yeah.
And
no, that's good.
Can you jump forward? Tell us what your closing image is.
The closing image mirrors it exactly. It's the president going in Marine One, flying over. Except now he's got the little girl in the helicopter with him. Safe in the helicopter. And there's deeper meaning there, right? Like because we see. In the beginning we see a black president flying by the Lincoln Memorial. You can tell there's the weight of history there, and that's what's intended to be there.
That's what they're trying for.
That's what they're trying for, but there's this cool moment later on, and it's a little throwaway. It's maybe a little saccharine. I liked it. It's this moment where later on the president gets shot, but he's got Lincoln's watch, and he says, old Abe took a bullet for me, but that has deeper meaning because old Abe did take a bullet for him back in the day.
Oh my God! It's so they just thought that they can cast an actor like Jamie Foxx playing a black president, and all of a sudden you're supposed to get some deep emotional stuff about it. They didn't write any of it in. They just said, oh, we're going to get something from resonance from having the black president there in the Lincoln Memorial. Again, it didn't work for me. It was never written into the story. However, as I juxtapose it with Olympus Has Fallen, yeah, Chris is at a disadvantage because he hasn't seen it.
Yeah,
I decided to spring it on you. The opening image for Olympus Is Falling. Now remember, this is the same concept. So think about it as if another writer just did this movie, and if another writer did it this way, how would you feel? The opening image in Olympus Is Falling is a flag, is the American flag, right?
Right.
And it's waving, and they stick with it. And the closing image is the American flag again, but it's like battered and beaten up, but it's been raised. At some point during the movie, the American flag is actually, like, by the terrorists, is torn down and, like, thrown on the floor. One thing that Olympus Has Fallen that did much better than White House Down is a feeling throughout, a patriotic feeling throughout the whole movie that taps into our patriotism, as we feel the country is at stake, not just the House and the president, but like the country is at stake. And I think Roland Emmerich, maybe because he's not an American, he missed out on these little nuances that Antoine Fuqua was able to do. Because I saw White House Down, and I'm just like, it might as well be Nakatomi Plaza, right? It's just another building. There was not a lot of patriotism attached to it.
Yeah, I mean but that's what it is, right? Like I mean, if you read, even if you just read the Wikipedia entry, it talks about the initial concept before Emmerich was attached was Die Hard meets Air Force One, right?
Sure.
And I mean that's what you got, and it sounds like, and I can't say not having seen Olympus Has Fallen, but it sounds like it happens on a bit more of a personal scale. I mean, despite the fact that you've got the threat of global nuclear war, it's on a much more personal scale. I mean, it feels that way, but you get to, and you're going to find there's other strengths later. You're gonna find that I'm partial to Olympus Has Fallen is fallen on this podcast for a number of reasons, but one of them is they really get you thinking about White House Down, or the concept of White House Down and Olympus Has Fallen. Olympus Has Fallen really gets you thinking about this as an attack on the country, and you get your American blood boiling. It's like, I don't know, it worked for me. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry to go on and on, but that's one of the things that worked for me from the opening image on. Now our setup. White House is down. All right. Well, are we setting up, or are we doing theme?
Oh, theme stated. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, the theme really falls in the setup. It's just, I think it's better to talk about it up front.
Okay.
So the statement of theme for me in White House Down is the conversation that John Cale slash what's the actor's name? The guy from the main actor. What's his name? I'm drawing a blank.
Channing Tatum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I'm calling him Agent Step Up for this.
Agent Step Up.
Yeah. Step up to the streets. Agent Step Up versus Agent Leonidas. That's what I'm using tonight.
Leonidas?
Leonidas,
Nice.
yeah. Leonidas. Agent Step Up versus Agent Leonidas.
Okay, well those are much different scales. But yeah, no, I think the theme stated in Olympus Has Fallen is the scene where Agent Cale, Channing Tatum, goes to pick up his daughter. And you can see the strained relationship between him and his daughter.
Okay.
And his ex-wife lays into him a little bit about he missed her baton twirling thing, and basically the theme is that he's too involved in his own life and not enough involved with hers. He doesn't care.
But then at one point he does say, I'm trying. He's like, I'm trying,
Well, yeah, but I mean, trying ain't doing, and throughout the rest of the movie, he's going to earn his daughter's respect, right? And he's going to earn it. He's going to earn it through her, her actual hero. He's going to kind of become her hero.
Okay, yeah. In Olympus, I'm going to agree with you on that. There's definitely, it's all about him getting his respect back, because Agent Step Up, we find out in the setup that he is, he's like a rebellious background. He wasn't able to, always finish what he started. But then when he went to war, he became like a war hero, and he got his act together. And he actually saves the nephew of the speaker while they were in Iraq, and that's what got him this job as Capitol Police, which he wouldn't have been qualified for anyway. So
that's a good theme. Like I would like to see it taken further. I think that's a great theme. Like I feel, I came from, I wasn't always a responsible adult. I was kind of I had a different life, and I've overcome that. But overcoming and being a responsible adult and really kind of punching in and earning, earning that respect of other people. Those are two totally different things. And I feel that's a good everyman goal if it was done right.
This is connected to the setup, so we should just go through it. I mean, our protagonist, John Cole, Agent Step Up, has less exciting job as a private security for the Speaker of the House.
Yeah, Capitol Police.
He's Capitol Police, right? So, but he would like a better job. He would like to work for the Secret Service. In fact, he gets an interview in which we find out that his background is that he's a rule breaker, a general screw up, until he went to Iraq, became a war hero, where he saved the Speaker's nephew, and that got him the job as the Capitol Police. That's the setup. And that's why the theme is respect. Trying to give his respect back, and that works for me.
Yep.
If I may, jump over to Olympus Has Fallen. Our protagonist, Mike Banning, he's a Secret Service agent already, Agent Leonidas. The setup here is that he is the most trusted Secret Service agent of the president, and they're friends. And in the setup, they're actually like buddies, and there's this great scene where they're boxing together. The president is boxing with his Secret Service agent, and Leonidas won't go easy on him. He's like, he's in better shape than the president, and he won't give him an easy time. So you see, they have this great friendship, right? Where going on and trust and everything. But then late one night while they're driving, there's a tragic accident, and the president's wife is killed. The car, icy road, car goes off the bridge, and the Secret Service are able to save the president. Agent Leonidas is able to save the president, but not the wife. And so what happens is Agent Banning is sent to he's sent off to another duty because the president doesn't want to be reminded of his dead wife, even though it wasn't his fault. And so theme for him is, and they talk about it early on, is second chances. He wants redemption, like literally a second chance to earn the president's trust back because he wasn't able to protect his wife.
It's classic.
It's a little deeper. It's a little deeper than I would like a better job and some respect for my daughter. And so from the beginning, we get a little bit more to root for with our protagonist. So
I like that setup. I do like. I love that image of President and his #1 Secret Service guy boxing. I think that's really cool because it visually represents the struggle between these two men that I'm sure it sounds like to me, just from that page is going to play out. There's going to be some kind of wrestling between them. And that's just kind of a statement there thematically moving forward. I think that's cool.
What else? Just before we get done with setup, what do we know about the president in White House Down? What do we learn about Jamie Foxx's President Sawyer?
There's it's been a couple weeks since I saw it. I was rereading.
There's not much.
No, there's something about him having had some kind of political flub in the past and trying to make up for it.
He wants to. He has like a political thing about he wants to end poverty. Okay, so we're like, okay, that's great, and he wants to pull out of the Middle East, which is relevant.
That's a big thing. That's relevant to the
That's
story.
the thing that's relevant. He wants to pull out of the Middle East.
Yeah.
So what we find out about President Asher in Olympus Has Fallen, played by Two-Face.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, played by Two-Face. Is that he all the stuff with the background and the friendliness with but his political aspirations are what's going on politically in the world right now is that North Korea is doing some saber rattling and threatening South Korea. They may be doing another nuclear test, which is totally straight out of the headlines.
Right.
And the Speaker of the House in Olympus Has Fallen is a hawk who wants to show the North Koreans who's boss, and the president he wants to stand up to them, but he doesn't want to get into a war. He does not want to start a war with the North Koreans, right? Which plays in later. But that's all we know. That's all we know. And is there any real setup of the antagonist? Do we get any of this setup of Martin in White House Down? Remember, played by
Yeah, you get some setup of James Woods' character.
James Woods,
right? You can tell there's tension there between him and the president. There's something going on with his son. You can tell he lost his son.
Yeah.
His son was in the military, and there's even some conversation going on there about him holding the president accountable for it. You find out later on that it's a little more complicated than that, but you can kind of tell that there's some animosity there, but you don't really know where that is just yet.
Yeah. The main antagonist in Olympus Has Fallen is hidden. There's this comes in later, but there's a South Korean delegation coming to talk to the president about all the saber rattling of the North Koreans, and the main bad guy happens to be in the party. So they let him into the White House, and basically the entire South Korean delegation, except the South Korean president, is secretly North Korean terrorists. So they just let him walk right in the White House.
That's great. As opposed to White House Down, where they're all disguised as janitors.
Janitors, right? Oh, they're working on the sound system. They're working on the sound.
Yeah, they're all sitting in some room watching a movie, and nobody cares.
Isn't that straight out of Die Hard? Don't they walk into Die Hard as part of like the crew, or is it Speed?
No, I think that's Speed. That you're thinking Dennis Hopper kind of walks in this crew.
Maybe.
I don't know. Yeah, no, I mean it's fine. It gets them there. It just seems really low security.
Getting into the White House is the suspension of disbelief for this concept, so it's not really believable in either case. But
let me stop you and ask you a question.
Yes.
Just to clarify, when you say the president is Two-Face, Aaron Eckhart?
Aaron Eckhart, yes.
Okay, because I was when you said it, I was thinking Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh, you're going back to Batman Forever.
Yep.
The second Batman Forever reference.
Anyway.
Awesome. Yes, Aaron Eckhart is the president. He plays a pretty good president. So, inciting incident, catalyst. What is it? White House down.
White House down. They blow up the Capitol building.
Booyah.
Bang.
Olympus Has Fallen. They blow up the Washington Monument.
All right. So in both cases, they're blowing up something that's not the White House.
Yeah. In White House down, they just bomb it, right? In Olympus Has Fallen, a C-17, like modified C-17, like with like several like minigun turrets, start shooting up the mall and start shooting up like all kinds of things around Washington D.C. and they try to take it out with like an anti-aircraft gun or whatever, but the plane itself eventually crashes into the Washington Monument. So we get these two iconic, from both movies, we have an iconic like destruction of a monument. One is the Capitol building, one is the Washington Monument.
You know something I liked in White House Down is, and this goes back to what we were saying earlier. You mentioned that Roland Emmerich seems to have pulled the stakes back a little bit in this movie, and we've seen a couple movies this summer, where like in Man of Steel, they're destroying whole cities.
Yes.
And in Star Trek, they're destroying whole cities,
planets.
Yeah. And in this, they're blowing stuff up big, but they don't put the destruction like in your face, right? There's the bomb goes off, and you see that
until we start talking nukes. You're saying in the main body of the film, yes,
but it's not destruction porn. Right, like there's this one shot of the Capitol crumbling, and then they cut away, and it's not even like a detailed shot. It's something happening in the background, like it's news footage or something.
Roland Emmerich had to hold back because he likes to blow up the world. He likes to end the world several times, and
that's kind of what I liked. I thought it was a little more tasteful than some of the other ways he goes.
Yeah. But because of that patriotism thing that I talked about in the beginning, there are moments throughout Olympus Has Fallen where you do feel like the country is going through something, like it's an actual, like some kind of September 11th event where the whole country is going through it. They cut to the news at different points, and people have stopped doing their normal lives to watch what's going on at the White House. And I didn't really get that from White House Down. I felt like it was just, we're in the White House. It's like
they show there's a lot going on there with reporters with the news, and I actually watched an interview with Roland Emmerich, and he talked about that a little bit. And he feels like people are going to jump to the conclusion that it's Islamic terrorists when it's not, and he wanted to kind of show the news media doing that. But I mean,
both movies go out of their way to not do Islamic terrorism.
Yeah, we got enough of that last year.
In fact, White House Down decides at one point they just, I think they assembled they said that they assembled the group of bad guys from like a threat con matrix, was what they call it. It's like one bad guy from every type of like, one's a white supremacist and one is like Eastern European. It's like one bad guy from all over except the Middle East on purpose. Gathered together by surprise. Main antagonist is the head of the Secret Service.
Right.
Suspension of disbelief. All right, we're suspending disbelief. It would almost have to be to actually break into the White House. You would almost have to have a betrayal at that high level to pull it off.
And they mention that they say he used. He was the one who was able to make it happen, and that helps the suspension of disbelief there.
Yeah. So our catalyst is terrorists attack the White House in both movies. Okay. Yeah. Debate.
Or attack not the White House.
Excuse me. Terrorists use a diversionary tactic.
Yes.
And then attack the White House.
Right.
Okay. Debate. Do we have some debate here?
Okay, so I think the debate in the case of White House Down, because it's a more personal story and it's not about America, it's about John Cale and his problems. The debate is whether he's worthy. The debate starts with his interview with Maggie Gyllenhaal, where she says, "Look, you are a screw up. You don't have a degree. I can't hire you. You've done some good stuff, but it's not good enough. And we can't hire you."
And it's not good enough for his daughter, right? So Agent StepUP needs to earn his daughter's respect. That's his internal arc.
Right, and then he lies to his daughter, and then even the president calls him out on it.
That's right.
It's a good scene. That's a great scene.
What a great line. That's right.
Yeah.
Where Agent StepUP actually gets a moment, because he's just Capitol Police, with the president, and he had told his daughter he was on her detail or he'd be protecting her.
Yeah.
And Jamie Foxx leans into his ear and is like, "You shouldn't lie to your daughter."
Yeah, that's
calls him out. Right, calls him out.
Has the taste not to do it, so the daughter can hear, but
yes. That's why you'll never be on my detail, is what's implied. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the, these two movies do begin to diverge at the break into two. We'll talk about it, but the debate in White House Down, the debate in Olympus Has Fallen is a less related to. It is a little more related to the B story. They get the president to the PIOC. I think actually that's debate for both of these movies, right? The PIOC. The Presidential Emergency Operations Center.
Oh, yeah.
The PIOC is the feature of both of these movies.
Right.
Somebody decided this room, this safe house, thank you, David Fincher, safe room, the safe room in the White House, which is, I guess exists or is now outed, is like the centerpiece for both of these movies. So getting the president into the PIOC is part of the debate. I think in both movies, and in Olympus Has Fallen, the president gets to the PIOC and he asks, "Where's my son?" Because the president's son is the B story of Olympus Has Fallen, which is much different from White House Down. The president has a son who is also trapped in the White House during the attack, who he's separated from. That plays much more of a role than President Sawyer's daughter in White House Down.
Yeah, he's like a tertiary character.
Right. Okay, break into two.
Break into two. What do I have here? So I think the break into two is when John Cale decides to save the president. There's. You could.
I disagree.
So you could go a little earlier, right? You could say that it's when he goes on the offensive, when they're all wrapped up in the room, right? And his daughter has gone down to use the bathroom, and right?
That's part of the debate. I think that once the terrorism begins, Agent StepUP wants to go after his daughter, and there's a Secret Service agent who won't let him leave the room. That's part of the debate. That's like refusal of the call, right? And then finally he does. He goes after his daughter. I think the break into two for White House Down for, is going after the daughter. That's his A story. He's going for his daughter. He ends up with the president. He ends up with the president.
I played with this, but he makes the decision. And see, I played with this too, because that was my first thought. But I started thinking about this, and to me, like, him going for his daughter is a no-brainer. There's no decision to go for his daughter. He's going to protect his daughter. That's what he does. That's who he is. But when he's down looking for her, and he gets a hold of that radio, and he hears them that they're going to the library because the president's down there, and he walks past the library, there's that moment where he stops and he thinks, what am I going to do? And then he goes down to the library.
And I took a note. I took a note down when that happened. I said, why is he doing that? Who would do that? What father would do that?
Well,
he's not even a Secret Service agent. It looks like they're not going to give him a job, and his daughter is left. This is like a completely unrealistic plot point for me. You're looking for your daughter in a dangerous terrorist situation, and you hear the president's in danger. and you decide I'm gonna up and be a Secret Service agent and save him, by myself. Like, I know we need to get to that for this movie, but that step did not work for me, because to me, the break into two is going after your daughter. The A story is going after your daughter. Even when he starts hanging out with President Sawyer, he's doing it in terms of, we still have to find my daughter, by the way.
Well, yeah. So, like, and I think his relationship with the president is definitely B story. But
yes,
I think
I agree. But it's a buddy movie.
But I think, so yeah, and okay, and so I agree that this is possibly kind of weak, or at least, but or maybe not played out quite so well as it should. But if his goal isn't to save his daughter, his goal is to earn his daughter's respect, and his daughter doesn't respect him because
that's the internal arc. His external goal is to physically save his daughter. Internally, yes, the arc, he would like to earn the respect back.
Sure, but
and when we're talking about breaking the two, we're talking about external plot goals.
So yeah, okay, agreed. But
and I think,
so I think the point here,
I think it continues, because it continues later, because finding the daughter becomes the main point, even when they're together. I think it's a lot like, I think White House Down is a lot like The Rock, right? With Nick Cage and Sean Connery, they end up teamed up together in a messed up situation, and the main, Nick Cage wants to defuse the VX gas missiles, and Sean Connery just wants to get out of there. So Nick has this other mission that Sean Connery happens to be around for and mentors him through. I think it obviously gets a little messy, because protecting the president is actually something that he would want to do, but it's not his job. He's not even Secret Service, so it's a little foggy. And yes,
it's a little foggy. But I think the point that he's trying to do is, if he wants to win his daughter's respect, the way that he wants to go about it is by saving her hero, because he talks about later the president is her hero, right? So look, I get that
it's angled. It's so like torturous route. You know what they do? You know what they do in Olympus Has Fallen? Okay, it's a lot simpler. Okay, the break into two is Agent Leonidas is like across. He's in the Treasury Department office, like across town. He sees the attack. He runs over to the White House. He just decides that while the North Koreans are assaulting the White House, like there's a ground assault on the White House, he decides to go over and help out. He just decides, I'm going in. You know why? Because I used to be the top Secret Service agent. All my Secret Service buddies are getting shot, and something's going down here, and I went in. And the goal of his A story, he doesn't get to the president until the third act. This is more Die Hard. He spends the whole movie, evading the terrorists, trying to get to the president. The only goal is to get to the president. So it evolves eventually when he finds out the president's son is in the White House. But his A story is simply find the president. But we do not get the buddy movie thing, the Rock kind of buddy movie thing from Olympus Has Fallen. It's more Die Hard. It's a dude with a problem. He's got to figure it out. So,
cool.
Fun and games.
Fun and games.
Promise of the premise of a White House Down Olympus Has Fallen movie. What do you go to see this movie for? Did they give us what we wanted?
Yes, I think they did.
Okay.
But
what did we get? Let's just list off the fun and games.
Okay. Well, okay. So we start off with so we've got him and the president running around. President's not a military guy, never served. He's never killed anybody. He's got to learn how to shoot a gun. It's all
a little fish out of water. Okay.
Yep, fish out of water.
You're getting late. What about just the attack on the White House? Like that's the set piece that you want to see when you go to see this movie. You want to see some people do a frontal assault on the White House. Secret Service versus terrorists.
Oh, but it's great, man. You get these terrorists, you get these bad guys just kind of walking through, and when shit goes down, they just walk through, and it's like thoop thoop thoop. It's all silenced pistols, and they're just walking through, taking people out. This is
one thing that both movies have in common. That the terrorists assault the White House with general impunity. Like there's not a lot of defenses at the White House. It turns out, it's like if you're in, you're in the belly of the beast. You're
you've got them where they're weakest, and you just kind of walk through. Nobody's really prepared for it.
See, and it goes unexplained. I mean, you just have to assume there's already, like, in real life, there's got to be an army already at the White House. Like, it's not gonna take them 15 minutes to respond to an attack on the White House. Like, the Secret Service agents aren't just like, a group of like a couple of guards around that, could maybe fend off a lone assassin. No, there's got to be a scenario for a ground assault on the White House that they've prepared for that doesn't take 15 minutes to respond. In Olympus Has Fallen, the badass antagonist, Kang, actually has a great line trying to explain this away. When he breaks in and he gets the president in the PIOC, he's got him right where he wants him. The North Korean terrorists have made it all the way through the White House. They're in the PIOC. They have control of the president, everything they want. And he turns to him. He goes, "It takes 15 minutes for your armed forces to get to the White House. We took it down in 13." So he's got like some badass lines.
Yeah,
but
that's
at
cool.
least they tried to explain it away. That's fun and games. More fun and games. Let's finish the fun and games for White House down.
So I mean, the crescendo.
Securing the president and the vice president, the Speaker of the House, the line of succession.
Continuity of government. Yeah,
right?
that was all very cool.
This is all promise of the premise. What about Air Force 2? The vice president plane takes off, right? And they shoot up they hit the turbo booster on it.
Oh my God, yeah. They're like,
great.
You're going to climb to 30,000 feet in 45 seconds or something like that.
That was awesome.
I was just kind of, when they said that, I was like, really? Does it work like that? That's very cool. Like,
yeah. Then we have what I would call the limo is great. Okay,
the limo is to me my favorite moment in that movie is when they're driving around the limo and something blows up in front of them, so they got mud covering the windshield and they can't see what's out, so he turns on the TV and there's zombies on the screen. Like, it shocked the shit out of me, and I thought it was such a fun moment. He's like, my daughter's favorite movie, but like, that's in that action, like that, that crazy action, the last thing you expect to see is zombies, and for a split second it just kind of catches you off guard. I thought
the movie's getting out of control because the president and his protector are driving around in the presidential limo. They can't get out of the front yard. Like, there's a serious problem with the jeopardy and conflict and the suspension of disbelief. Okay, they can't get out of the front yard of the White House. Like, if you get the president out of the front yard, the movie's over. Okay,
right. But it's apparently much easier to get in than it is to get out.
Yeah, and Agent StepUP is driving, and at one point the president has an RPG. He gets his RPG out and has to lean out the window and shoot it.
And then he drops it. He's like, I dropped the rocket launcher. What?
Yeah. We get okay, and I have to say, I mean, you can't get off the front lawn, and you can't. The president and Agent StepUP, like, they keep getting stuck in elevator shafts.
Yeah, there's lots of elevator shafts.
They spend like 30 minutes of this movie in different elevator shafts. First of all, how many elevator shafts are there in the White House? There can't be that many floors.
One of them's a dumbwaiter or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a different elevator. It's just another elevator shaft, right? But this is not Speed, right? Remember the elevator shafts? This is not Die Hard attitude. Die Hard, right? Where you have 40 floors of elevator shafts to be hiding in. The White House is like 3 floors, okay? Yeah. You're not going to hide very long. Okay, they can't get out of the elevator shafts, and they can't get out of the front yard with the car. I mean, the elevator shafts reminded me of Die Hard, and the limousine thing, that reminded me of Die Hard too. Remember Argyle?
Right. Yeah.
Die Hard?
Argyle, or there's even like the
you got Argyle driving the limo, John McClane, hanging out.
You've got the cop car where he's, he drops the chair onto the cop car to let him know he's there.
That's
like
right.
All kinds of stuff with cars outside of the fortress, right?
Yeah. So I'm really happy you brought up that Roland Emmerich said that this was supposed to be Die Hard meets Air Force One, because they end up taking out the Air Force 2 actually with the Veep on it, right? They shoot it down, don't they?
Oh yeah.
And this is still in the first half of the second act. This is still
I think them shooting the plane down is in the second half of the second act.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah,
well, we
pretty
can
sure
talk about that.
Yeah.
Let me dump out the Olympus Has Fallen fun and games for you. Okay.
By the way, dude.
Yeah.
I love your T-shirt. Your T-shirt's very appropriate, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
It's my War Games T-shirt. Olympus Has Fallen. Okay, we get a ground assault on the White House. Attack again, terrorist attack with general impunity. Agent Leonidas decides to join the fight and start taking out the terrorists from behind as the Secret Service are just, mowed down. The Secret Service don't have it, but Leonidas does, okay? And at one point, there is a, in the assault, the North Koreans throughout this whole movie, they used a lot of secrecy. Like, they used the secrecy, they used this sneak attack thing where they're on the, they're actually members of the South Korean delegation, which you can't believe. And the second version of the secrecy is they have a tank that is disguised as a garbage truck. It actually says White House sanitation on it, and a window opens, and there's like a minigun, and it starts mowing down Secret Service agents. But Leonidas could tell beforehand. He's like, something's not right about the garbage truck.
It smells like gunpowder, not shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
At one point, once the terrorists actually get into the White House, and the terrorists occupy the PIOC with the president, the last Secret Service agent who's alive, who we think is the last, turns out to be the second to last Secret Service agent who's alive is dying on the floor, and he whispers into his mic, he goes, "Olympus has fallen. Olympus has fallen."
Nice.
Just for the title. The Marines plan. Okay. What else is promise of the premise? Oh, we go to the command center. And both movies have this, where the continuation of government with the Speaker of the House. Like they've got all the politicians and everybody arguing about what to do. And we forgot to mention on both sides the hacker B story. This is like a C story. Right?
Yeah.
We got Skip Tyler, the hacker, in White House Down, right?
Dude.
He's doing something. We don't know what he's doing, but he's funny.
I gotta say, I think probably at least 60% of the reason that I write tech thrillers and sci-fi is because I'm so sick of how tech people are portrayed in movies, and this is a prime example. This is not this is like the equivalent of the bad guy from Hackers, right? Just eccentric dude who goes in, and it's silly, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, but you know what? I thought he was actually pretty funny. Like, I thought he provided the most. The actor's Jimmy Simpson, who's a great actor. I've seen him on stage. He had the lead in this great Aaron Sorkin play called The Farnsworth Invention that nobody saw. It was on Broadway.
I've heard nothing but good about it. Some
of Aaron Sorkin's greatest writing. It was supposed to be a film. They did it on Broadway and said Jimmy Simpson starred in it. But Jimmy Simpson's great, comedic, character actor. And I thought he did a funny hacker. You have a funny hacker in White House Down. In Olympus Has Fallen, you've got a hot female hacker, right?
We like that.
North Korean female hacker. She's hacking on something. But in both cases, the first half of the movie, we don't know what they're hacking, right? And in both cases, the first half of the movie, the terrorists have a set of demands that turn out not to be true. White House Down, the terrorist demands are what?
It's like $400 million from the Federal Reserve or something like that.
Cash. We're doing the Die Hard thing.
We're doing the Die Hard 2 thing. We're doing the cash as a smokescreen.
You're just a common criminal. Yeah, exactly.
But Die Hard 3, right? With Jeremy Irons, he wants all the cash, but he
does terrorism.
It's reverse. It's reverse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Turns out, right. And what James Woods wants, which we find out second half, is not the money. He just wants to nuke the Middle East.
Yes.
That's the grand plan.
Yeah.
Talk about suspension of disbelief issues. He just wants to nuke the Middle East, and that's the plan. How do you feel about that?
I look, I like a villain who doesn't think he's a villain, who thinks he's doing something that's good, and who you can almost, you can't relate, but you can say, you know what, I can see how somebody who is that far gone would think he was doing
in that
thing.
Situation. Yeah.
But look, this dude is Speaker of the House. He's an intelligent guy. He knows that if you start a nuclear war in the Middle East, you start it in America too. It's
a planet. Nuclear war is a planet.
Yeah, there's a reason.
Mayhem.
There's a reason it's happened once. There's a reason it happened only once. So it's poor premise, but
Olympus Has Fallen doesn't do much better. The original demands are they want America out of the DMZ. They want North Korea to be left alone so that they can take over South Korea. He wants to unify Korea. And so the demands are to take the 7th Fleet out of the ocean next to Korea and to remove all the troops from the DMZ so that he can free the poor, impoverished people of North Korea by unifying them together. What we find out is that what the hacker is working on, is this the same thing that the hacker's working on in the other? What is the hacker working on?
He's working on. It has to do with the launch codes and
access to the nukes, right?
Access. He's got to get the launch codes, but he's breaking through to get access to the missiles.
I love that movie. Same thing on the other side. Olympus Has Fallen. The hot female hacker is breaking the codes to get access to the nukes.
Okay.
Of which the grand plan for Kang, the North Korean, is to not launch the nukes, but detonate them in their silos all across America to create a nuclear winter and turn America into basically a poor, impoverished country like North Korea. He wants to get us back for leaving North Korea out to dry.
Put us in the Stone Age.
Yeah.
His name is Kang.
Kang, yeah.
Yeah, isn't that like the alien from The Simpsons?
I don't watch enough Simpsons, but that sounds
it's like old school. Kang.
Yeah. Kang's pretty good name it's better than Martin.
Yeah,
for a bad guy. So yeah, the grand plan for the terrorists, still nuclear, still has to do with the hackers, and plot hole, whatever you want to call it. I mean, this is a fun movie. We don't care about the plot holes, but I mean, the whole point of going into the White House in both of these movies is we have to believe that control of the White House gives you control of the nukes, right?
Right.
And the red herring is that they're after the president in both of these cases, when they're not. They're actually after control of nukes. And as far as I know, I don't think, command and control of the nuclear arsenal, rests in the hands of the White House or the president. The second anybody attacks the president, they're going to change the launch codes at NORAD,
Right.
But Suspension of Disbelief is a fun movie. Midpoint. Let's move on. We had so many good fun and games in both sides.
All right, so the midpoint, I think, is the point which it happens at the end of the limo chase when the redneck racist bad guy has his little girl, has Emily. And they now know that she's his daughter, and so now they got one up on him, and that distracts him. And at the end of that, they flip the limo into the pool, and now for at least a moment they're captured. Right? It's this false defeat.
You're saying the midpoint is finding out Emily's. They have the president's daughter. Interesting.
No. They have John Cale's daughter.
Excuse me. That we have the
So two things happen then, right? They come out. He sees that they've got his daughter. So
that's pretty late. I had that closer to my low point.
Yeah.
For Dark Knight of the Soul.
Yeah, I get something way different there, but
no, the president, when the president dies, I had that. Yeah,
so yeah, I mean, like, but,
Okay.
but so what? This is a false defeat, right? Like this is what you want at the midpoint, right? Like it's, and it's mirrored. Like if you like, it's kind of mirrored in the Dark Knight of the Soul because the jeopardy, and we'll get into this in a few minutes, but the jeopardy has to do with Emily. But it's not that really. I mean, so that's what leads to it. But what that leads to is the limo goes off track. It's put in the pool. They come up, and there the bad guys are, and now they've got the president and Cale prisoner. Now that only happens. That only goes for a second. And then they run into the greenhouse and it blows up or whatever.
Do you want to take one moment to explain how the midpoint is supposed to be mirrored by the low point of the Dark Knight of Soul, All Is Lost?
Yeah, so, like, often what will happen is the midpoint and the low point will mirror each other in the respect that the midpoint may be a false victory or a false defeat. And the same is true of the low point, but it's usually a
All is lost. All is lost.
All is lost. Well, all is lost, low point. I mean, we kind of use them interchangeably. In this one, I think they're both. It's hard to say. Yeah. I mean, they're both kind of defeats.
Yeah.
But
so no, that's great explanation. I just wanted to get that on the record.
Yeah. I mean, look, the midpoint.
I thought maybe the midpoint was when John made contact with the command and control people, when they find out, when he actually calls in and says, "By the way, I'm in here. Use me."
My first thought on it, actually, when I came out of the theater, and my girlfriend has been watching these podcasts, and so she asked me, she says, "What do you think the midpoint was there?" Which is funny because she's not into screenwriting at all.
Well, midpoint is the hardest. It's
the hardest one, right? Like
it's the hardest part of screenwriting in general. Like midpoint. Yeah.
And so my first thought coming out of the theater was that it's the point when he gets the president down into the basement. And leaves him to go down the tunnel, and now he's going back for his daughter because there is a crisscross of the A and the B story there a little bit, right?
Because that would be a raising of the stakes. I've got the president out.
Yeah.
Now the real deal is get my daughter out.
The problem with that is the president doesn't really get out. It
doesn't. Again, we're clouded. The A story again is clouded. Yeah. What is the real goal for Agent StepUP? What is his A story? Get the president out or get the daughter out. It's okay in screenwriting to have more than one goal, but your audience should not be confused about the goal. You got to make out your mind here.
I really don't think personally that it's too confusing. I mean, like I said before, I think,
but his motivations from one scene to the next. He's trying to save the president, but then you find yourself wondering while he's saving the president, what's he doing about his daughter? And then if he starts going after the daughter, you're like, well, okay, is the president safe yet? You find yourself wondering, what is he wondering? What is he thinking? In Olympus Has Fallen, it's a lot simpler. They stuck with almost the exact same story. Is the president's son is in the White House, okay? And the president is stuck the whole time in the PIOC. He and the cabinet members are being tortured by the North Koreans to get their codes, so that the hot hacker chick doesn't have to hack the codes. And Agent Leonidas speaks to the Speaker of the House, and they let him know that the president's son is in the White House, and he's the priority. That if they find out that the president's son is there, they'll use him against the president to get the president's codes, and it'll be game over. So the midpoint is finding out that the president's son is there, and that the A story is now not just fight off terrorists, help out the Speaker of the House with eyes and ears on the ground, while we try to figure out how to counter-assault the terrorists. But it is now go find the son, and that's what Agent Leonidas spends for bad guys close in. Spends a little bit of first half of the second half of the second act working on. So it's a little more straightforward. His goal is just a lot more straightforward.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that for me, is a stronger midpoint.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's kind of fuzzy, and you're right. It does have to do with the goals. It has to do with. It has something to do with the B story usually. I think for me that's kind of the best spot, because I think what happens next, right? So what happens next is that they make a daring escape, go into a building, and that building blows up, right? And now the bad guys think that Cale and the president are dead. And that allows them now to kind of go on the offensive in a different way. And so that also helped me kind of determine this as the midpoint, because, again, the midpoint is the point usually at which the movie becomes a different movie. Yeah, right?
It's like a new set of goals, like a higher stakes, new set of goals. But then, doesn't Agent step up and Ray end up in an elevator shaft again?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, seriously. You can't just raise the stakes and just put them in another elevator shaft. In Bad Guys Close In, you want to go do Bad Guys Close In for White House Down first?
Yeah, I mean, sure. There's a lot of stuff happening here.
We try to get the president to the tunnels. It doesn't work out, right?
The president's presumed dead, right? This becomes a little bit more... This is where...
Wait. Don't... This is confusing. Hold on.
Okay.
Presumed dead by the
bad
people
guy.
outside.
The bad guys and the
not
people
by
outside.
the audience. Not by the audience.
Not by the audience, right? So this is where things change, and now the real story, right? The antagonist's true motivations start to come out, and even though I would hardly classify this as a political intrigue movie, the political intrigue elements start to come into play here, right? So now this whole
the bad guys start arguing. Right? The white supremacist is like, wait a minute. He finds out that this guy has nuclear ambitions, and he's like, this is not what I signed up for. I wanted to be rich.
Yeah. The henchmen start to argue amongst one another, so there's a problem there. The line of succession, the continuity of government starts to kick in. So we've now got a new president because we think the president's dead. And then before long, that president's dead too, right? So we're going down the chain, right? And this is where
it. That's what you want to see in a president in the White House down. You want to see the president die, the vice president die. Now we got the Speaker of the House. You know who comes next? The Senate pro temp.
Oh man,
Where's he?
When I was in the Air Force, we had to memorize the chain of command from the president down to the dude in front of you.
Oh, what do you got? You show off on the podcast.
Oh, dude, it's been almost 20 years. It's Clinton back then.
After the Senate pro temp, I think it's the cabinet. In order of it's the cabinet members in order of the year that the cabinet position was created, and so I think it's not like Secretary of Defense or Secretary of State next. It's something else that's odd, like Interior. But
yeah, I can't remember.
Either way, bad guys close in. But I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, but basically, the story, I guess, the bad guys closing in. What's really closing in doesn't have a lot to do with the Ace story so much. It doesn't have so much to do with John Cale and rescuing his daughter. It's these pieces beginning to fall, these chess pieces beginning to fall politically to get the true antagonist's goals in line, right? And then as Cale and the president start to re-enter the scheme of things, now they're going to learn what the real stakes are, and that's going to lead to third act.
But to me, okay, so you had Emil finding out Emily, one of the bad guys, finding the daughter of the president as sort of the midpoint.
That precedes the midpoint. That directly precedes the midpoint, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I had that as part of the bad guys close in. When we find identifying the bad guys, the White Power, the Anarchy Hacker, the ex-Delta Force, the Black Ops guys.
We get out. The hacker is successful, right? He gets into NORAD, right?
Right, he gets into NORAD and he launches the nuke and he hits Air Force 2, knocks it out.
Yeah, which is great. He launches a nuke at it.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Or I thought it was a nuke. Like, I mean, it seemed kind of silly to me.
And that's where we spoke to earlier. That's where Sawyer RPGs the gate. Second half.
Yeah.
RPG. The whole limousine crashes in the second half, not the first. The president drops a grenade at one point. President Sawyer, did you see that?
Yeah.
That's not very practical. You're the president. You can't be like Russian rouletting with the terrorists. You're supposed to be trying to get out of there.
Yeah.
And they can't get out of the yard, and it's like Speed. They're doing circles. And okay, so bad guys close in for Olympus Has Fallen is very similar. All right, but we have Leonidas, Agent Leonidas, trying to find the son of the president. He kills some more terrorists. He actually takes 2 terrorists prisoner, right?
Okay.
Starts to torture them. It starts to get really out of character.
Nice.
And then he threatens one. He says, "Where's the boy? Tell me where the boy is, if you've seen him." And one of the guys he's taken prisoner won't talk, so he shoots the other one in cold blood, and he says, "You're gonna tell me, or I'm gonna kill you." And he finally finds the boy, and gets the boy out. Excuse me. He gets the son of the president out of the White House, and we have a little bit of a victory, a false victory right before our low point. Because we have him, Leonidas teams up with his old buddy, who is surprisingly still alive, a Secret Service agent who is still alive, played by Dylan McDermott, who the audience already knows is actually a turncoat. He's one of the people who helped the North Koreans plan to get in. So we have a Secret Service betrayer also. But Agent Leonidas doesn't know that Agent the Practice is actually against him, because they used to be buddies. And we have the almost the same scene from Die Hard, where Hans pretends to be one of the people who works at Nakatomi, and Dylan McDermott, this agent, pretends to be teamed up with Leonidas. He's like, "I can't believe you're still alive. I can't believe you're still alive. We're trying to kill these terrorists." And then, a few beats later, he realizes that he's lying, and they have a hand-to-hand fist fight. And the agent, turncoat agent, just sort of I don't know, he kind of confesses. He's like, our president isn't any better than a dictator, and it's hard to do the job that we do and not get recognition for it. And somehow Agent Leonidas convinces him to lie to Kang over the radio to tell him that he killed him, that he's dead. And at the same time, the Speaker of the House sends in a SEAL team to try to attack the White House, thanks to Agent Leonidas giving them intel. But, and this is the low point, we have the false victory where the boy's out, but then the low point is the SEAL team goes in, and the North Koreans have this automatic Gatling gun turret that is an American military piece of machinery that they've stolen, and it's on top of they've put it on top of the White House, and it starts taking out the SEAL team, 6 helicopters that are trying to land. It's called the Hydra 6, and it's this awesome Gatling gun, auto Gatling gun. It starts taking out helicopters everywhere, and so the low point is all these the SEAL team is who's the last chance, because they don't believe Leonidas can save the day. The last chance of the Speaker of the House is get the SEAL Team 6 in and assault the White House and take it back. 4 out of the 6 helicopters get mowed down, and but Leonidas runs up to the roof and he disables it before they all get killed, and he saves a few lives. But basically, the low point is he's all alone. the plan to take the White House back has failed, and now they have to give in to the demands of Kang, which are to pull the Marines out of the DMZ and the Seventh Fleet out of the sea. So that's the low point. It has to do with the A story. It's just the White House won't be taken back, and Leonidas is on his own.
So the low point in White House Down, I think, is as confused as the A and B stories. So what I have is basically, there's a point where James Woods is holding a gun to Emily's head and says over the White House loudspeaker, "I have your daughter. You've got to the count of 3, or I'm going to pull the trigger. You have to give over the president." And the president, not John Cale, the president surrenders himself, right?
Yes.
So he goes forth and he's there. James Woods has what he wants. All the pieces are in place, or so he thinks. This is about as low as it gets. The next stage, the Dark Night of the Soul, is a little darker, but it's related. But that's the low point still. That's the low point. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the low point as the president. There is a moment, isn't there? There is a moment where we think the president is dead.
Yeah.
There's a big explosion, and we think Sawyer is dead. And
no, this is when he gets shot.
He's shot, right, where he's shot. And then they cut to swearing in the Veep. And I just had a little visitor.
Nice.
We also find out that Walker has cancer, right?
We found that on pretty early, though.
Oh, was that earlier? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about kind of a whiff of death there. You're supposed to have a whiff of death at the low point, right? And
yeah.
So
I mean, what kind of happens? What I think the low point is always preceded, or usually preceded, by the Dark Night of the Soul. So
it's after. It's after.
Dark Night of the Soul is after, yeah. Proceeded, not preceded. Essentially, what happens here is the president gives himself up, right? So again, this is not John Cale giving himself up. This is the president giving himself up. He's the little girl's hero. All that. This is that confusion that we're talking about.
Right. But the protagonist should be going through the Dark Night of the Soul and breaking into 3.
So what happens is the James Woods is still holding the gun to the little girl's head, and says, I need you to put your handprint on the nuclear football, or I'm going to put a bullet in your head. And so to me, the Dark Night of the Soul kind of is and this is really the soul searchiest moment I could find. But the president, Ray, looks at the little girl and says, I'm sorry, you understand why I can't do this, right? Like, you understand why I'm about to let you die. And she shakes her head, she nods her head, yeah. She says, yeah. So like, I think there's a bit of a moral victory that's confused in all these plots, but it's about as close as we can come to.
Are you telling me the president's about to let a child die, and is that what's happening?
Yeah. I think the little girl's about to sacrifice herself, or allow herself to be sacrificed for the greater good.
But she's got to choose that herself, right? She should be like, don't tell him, or something like that.
Again,
it's unheroic. It doesn't matter if you're the president.
Well, yeah, this whole piece here is unheroic. I mean, like I mean, look. There's
where's Agent StepUP in all of this? He's our protagonist.
Look, there's a lot of action in here. The most heroic things are this little girl.
Yeah. So, the low point is the death in Olympus Has Fallen is the death of the SEAL team. And Agent Leonidas can't. He feels like he's alone, and they don't want him. They actually go through with pulling the troops out of the DMZ and all this stuff. They also but somehow he just decided. Yeah, I mean, there's not much of a Dark Night of the Soul or anything, or all his losses there. There's not much of a Dark Night of the Soul. He just decides he's going in.
Yeah.
He goes in to get the bad guys. So
I mean, look, these are action movies. They don't need to get that deep to cut to three.
They
right?
don't.
Like they don't.
So what do you got in our third? What's our third act for White House Down?
So
isn't there the Delta Force attacks the White House, right? Don't we have that?
They do, and it's not. Is it Delta Force or is it?
I think it's three Delta. It's three Marine ones come in. Remember?
Yeah. So what? That's part of Act 3. So what? I think the break to Act 3, the action that cuts us to Act 3, is when they've got the president there and the little girl.
Yeah.
The sprinklers go off or something, right? Channing Tatum goes down and he starts lighting the White House on fire, right? This mirrors the image we saw earlier in the movie when they showed the picture of when the White House burned down 150 years ago.
Oh yeah, which is great foreshadowing.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Painting. They show that great painting of the White House burning down. Yeah.
But so this is where he kind of goes on the offensive and he starts doing this to kind of run interference, and that that kind of leads him to going on the offensive, and then we're getting the helicopters come in to bring the Delta Force, I guess.
It's the Delta Force.
Yeah, but that gets kind of messed up, and it ends up with this big battle on top of the White House where Cale is fighting the guy from Zero Dark 30, who makes an awesome bad guy. I mean, he made this awesome kind of dark, torturous character.
Emil,
yeah. So,
but essentially, the Delta Force is destroyed, and the hostages are put in danger.
Yeah.
And there's a hand-to-hand fight between Kane and Emil. Right.
Yep.
The Emil is the muscle. He's not the brains of the bad guys. He's the muscle of the bad guys. Agent StepUP and him.
Yeah, but he's not like the dumb muscle.
But he's still just the muscle, and they go hand to hand on the roof.
Yeah, and then he wraps around grenades around his neck and blows him up.
Yeah. How does he kill him?
He gets him. He has a grenade belt that he just kind of wraps around his neck and starts pulling the pins out and then runs away and he just kind of blows up.
That's pretty cool.
It was a really cool.
Blew his head off.
Really cool mini boss death.
Mini boss death, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, the hacker is complete. He's got control of nukes and he's initiating a nuclear launch. Is that right?
Yeah, he's initiating the launch, and then he's getting out of there, right? So the president gets shot, right?
Yeah.
And James Woods, says, look, I don't need you to do this. And he just grabs his hand and puts it on the football and says, there's the authentication.
The whole confusion about needing the football and the president's death, it just didn't make a whole lot.
Well, I mean, the football thing is a real thing, right? That's sensible. But he goes through all this trouble when in the end he just shoots him and then
but they were
puts his hand on it.
They were trying to kill him for half the movie. It didn't make any sense. The whole plan is not very well conceived, despite nuking the Middle East isn't a great plan.
But the hacker gets himself blowed up, right?
And we have a little reversal, don't we, at the end of this with the speaker, right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, you get your third act twist, right?
Surprise! The speaker's in on it.
Which you
don't even need. It's not earned. When you're gonna have a payoff, you got to set it up earlier. It's completely not earned. It comes out of nowhere.
It cheapened it for me. Look, despite the flaws that we've talked about, right? I really thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I don't want to be too critical because I really did enjoy the movie. I actually really do. I mean, we've talked. We both like summer blockbusters and all this stuff. I generally like Roland Emmerich movies, some better than others, but I really enjoyed this. But so to me, the villain here, the James Woods villain, is this guy who's tortured, right? Despite how much I believe it, he's this guy who lost his son. and believes it was okay that he lost his son, but feels like he's about to lose his son for nothing. So he's got a strong motivation for wanting to just, like go all out and say, screw everything, right? Like, I kind of buy him as a villain. To me, it's cheap to find out in the end that, he's just being kind of puppeteered by this dude who wants to be president.
Absolutely. Yeah, it takes away from him as a compelling antagonist.
Yeah, it felt like something they wanted to do at the end. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah. Third act for Olympus Has Fallen. Agent Leonidas goes back in. We also get the hacker finally. The hacker is cracking the codes to get control of the nukes also in this movie. They're torturing the cabinet members one at a time to try to get, because the code is actually 3 people's codes, and the third one is the president's, and they break the first 2, and then they're afraid if they find the president's son, the president, even though they're beating him, and he won't give them the code. If they find the son, he'll give them the code, and that's how the son's getting saved plays in. But then, basically, the hacker breaks the codes, and they initiate this nuclear launch of all these nuclear missiles still in the silos. They're just going to blow up in the silos, and that'll be enough to lay waste to the United States. So we have a ticking time clock going on. While Leonidas is trying to kill terrorists and break in, he finally gets into the PIOC, and he goes hand to hand with Kang. Kang, who's actually both the cerebral intelligent bad guy and the muscle. It turns out, because Kang, the actor playing Kang, is an awesome martial artist. Starts doing this kick-ass taekwondo. It's amazing. And you've got Secret Service agent versus these martial artists, and they're kicking each other's ass. And you have actually a really missed opportunity, because I was telling you that we started the movie with the president boxing with the Secret Service agent Leonidas. There's this great opportunity at the end when the president's been beaten and he's on the ground, and Agent Leonidas is being beaten by Kang. There's a great opportunity for the president to step in and take a few cuts, take a few punches at Kang himself. We could actually have the president boxing with the antagonist to help out Agent Leonidas, so that in the end that they do it together. They save the country together, and they grow their friendship back together, and they're healed together, and they miss that opportunity. The president is just lays on the floor until Gerard Butler gets up and beats up the bad guy.
And plus, Harrison Ford, when he was president, he threw some punches.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. You want to see the president get down and dirty. There's a really funny line. There's a really funny moment when there's about 20 seconds to deactivate the nuclear launch codes after Agent Leonidas is beating the bad guys. They have to deactivate the launch code, and they give him the code over. They're telling him the code over the wire, and it's 56G /, and then somebody goes hashtag, and he goes, "What's a hashtag?" and somebody yells, shift three. So there's a funny moment at the end, but for the most part, that's how the third act ends. He saves the day. He's buddies again with the president. They cut to a rousing speech of the president. The president giving a speech to the people about healing and coming back together. It actually doesn't have a lot to do with the movie. It should have been. I felt like it should have been tied into maybe some of the geopolitical stuff from the first act that wasn't there. But what we do get is, again, that feeling throughout this entire film of the patriotism of this movie. That's deeper than the Roland Emmerich version, which is the flag is hoisted again, and the American flag's back up, and we get our closing image, and that's the flick.
Very cool.
I don't know what else there is to say. Two premises.
Well, one premise.
Excuse me. Two movies, one premise. One gets a little bit more complicated with its A plot. I mean, White House Down, the A plot gets a little, out of sorts. The antagonist is not sorted out. His motivations are a little iffy. The midpoint is a little. We're not sure, what the A story is and what the goals are for a protagonist. And in the end, Agent StepUP, he does get his respect of his daughter. But it's nowhere near as big a leap as like Agent Leonidas getting his redemption, saving the president, getting his friend back, while saving the country.
Yeah, and at the end of White House Down, it's not, and again, this we talk about this being confusion of the A story, B story, whatever. Like at the end, it's all of them together in the helicopter, right? Like their stories have kind of grown together, and they're all there. They're all there together. If it's just John Cale and
it's
his
back
daughter,
to but the closing image is the child is safe again, right?
Yeah.
The opening image is child is safe in bed. The closing image, the child is safe on the helicopter. The A story should have been all about the child. And it wasn't. For too much of it, it was about the president.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in Olympus Has Fallen, they split it in half. The first half of the movie is about get the president. The second half is about save the president's son. And then once that's done, the third act is, okay, now I can save the country and the world from nuclear disaster.
But if you look at the history of Roland Emmerich's movies, and Independence Day comes to mind, right? There's lots of stories going on in that, right?
Sure.
You got Will Smith, you got the president.
I think they're all well paid off. Independence Day strikes me as a great, so well-rounded a movie. All the stories are set up and paid off really well.
Yeah, I think. For me, I think this pays off pretty well. I think it's confusing. It's really hard to tell which character, which protagonistic character is motivating it throughout. It seems much more driven than.
And we don't really. The president character isn't really that compelling. You just in Olympus Has Fallen from the beginning, because the president is trying to be a good guy and then his wife dies. And then he's trying to be a father to his son who doesn't have a mother anymore. He's instantly compelling. And we have an agent who is a great agent, but because of fate, bad things happen, and he wants to get back on the president's good side. And he needs to redeem himself. It's just there's so much more character meat to go for in that movie that it resonates throughout all of the action and all the obstacles. The character development resonates far more, and it's just a better execution, in my opinion, of this premise.
Okay.
And we get all the promise of we get all the fun and games in both movies, essentially.
Yeah. And my money was well spent.
Yeah, I enjoyed both.
Yeah. Cool,
I think we're done.
I think we're done. Let's
round it out.
So we didn't go through this at the beginning, but all of this is based on Blake Snyder's beat sheet.
Right.
It's a great tool for beginning intermediate screenwriters to learn structure. I encourage any screenwriter, if you haven't read this book, go out and buy it. You can check out the beats that we talk about. You can check them out.
We're posting our combined beat sheet for both White House Down and Olympus Has Fallen.
Yep. Plus the NYC Screenwriters Collective site has a breakdown of what the beats mean generally. But again, go into the book. The book itself gets really deep on this. We see this mainly as a lens to look at movies through. Nobody's going to teach you how to write a screenplay. There's no template. There's no boilerplate. But this gives you a good way to view and figure out why movies are the way they are.
Yeah. This is the Script Podcast is the official podcast of the NYC Screenwriters Collective. If you're in New York City, come to our workshops. If you have any comments, questions, proclamations, you can send them to ScriptFeed@gmail.com. And I don't know, what's up next?
I don't know, man.
We make no promises. We make no promises.
We make no promises. We talked about Lone Ranger a little bit.
I'm not doing it, man.
Yeah, he's. What comes out?
I'm just not going to get to the theater for that one.
Hey, Pacific Rim's coming out next week, right?
Yeah, I could do Pacific Rim.
Let's do it. Done.
All right. Deal.
Cool. All right.
I'm David Negrin. I'm here with Chris Durham. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
Have a good one.
Good night, Chris.
Good night.